Okay, good evening. Call the meeting to order. It is 5 o'clock. With that, I'm going to start here with the adoption of the agenda. Start with administration. Any extra additions from administration?
No, thanks, Mr. Reeve.
Okay, and from council, any additions from council? It is written on here, but I think that came out after. We'd have to. Do we need to approve that one because it came out after the minutes? Just checking. After the first initial agenda came out, we did have the two. I know they're on here, but
Yeah, I'll just have to check the length of notice in our procedural bond.
I think we need to approve it as amended.
Yeah, so given the notice came out just shy the time frame, that would be a good thing to do.
Okay. Councillor Williams?
It's on our electronic agenda, but personal matter under point 17.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's the one on there. 11.
And that's 11.2 or 11.3?
11.3. The other 11.2 is administrations. Okay, with that, can I get a motion to accept the agenda as amended? Councillor Prestige?
Make a motion to accept the agenda as amended.
Thank you. With that, I'll call the question. All in favor? Thank you. And before we get going, we do have a new face in the room here. Mr. Benedetto, if you want to start, and we'll do a round of introductions so you know who you're talking to in the room.
So, Mr. Reeve and members of council, I'm very pleased to be introducing Denisha Ferguson, our new Director of Corporate Services. And I'm also pleased to share a little bit of background on her. And grew up in Toronto for 20 plus years, has been working in the public sector for essentially her career, and spent most of that time working with community operations within decentralized government. So she'll certainly adapt well to local government, having great experience in the communities. The government of Nunavut, she worked with the Nunavut Housing Corporation as a community development officer, focused on financial management, and with the Department of Finance and all of their financial reporting and developing the public accounts and other governmental financial reports. Then she moved to the government of the Northwest Territories with their housing as a district controller, and with the Department of Finance as manager of financial operations, and then with the Northwest Health and Social Services as controller for reporting and analysis. So she's obviously got a great depth and breadth of financial background. And then she started in local government with the MD of Fairview in a similar position to what she's fulfilling for us. So I think it's not many people could say this, but moving this far south, I'm sure for Denise, she feels like she's moved to the tropics. But I found out that she actually likes winter, and I have to be careful because 95% of the time people receive it well when I trash winter, but she's in that special, unique group that actually enjoys winter. So we're very pleased to have her with us. She's been really digging into the finances and really getting immersed in the position quickly here. So we really look forward to working with her.
And just start here. So obviously you met Paul and Heather, and if you want to go around the room, we'll just introduce council.
Devin Williams, Councillor for Division 7 Force TBU.
Bruce Prestige, Councillor for Division 5, and it's the Blue Ridge area.
Mr. Burrows, I see you online there. If you can introduce yourself.
Yep, I am online. Hopefully you can hear me. It's John Burrows. I'm the White Court West Councillor.
My name is Dave Cush. I'm the Reeve, and I'm the Councillor for Anselmo.
Peter Kilken, and I am Councillor for Goose Lake Freeman River, and welcome to the team.
Thank you.
Jeremy Wilhelm, White Court East.
Alan Dean, White Court Central.
Yeah.
Jeff Sennett, Director of Infrastructure Services.
Thank you. And I'm assuming you met our other directors back there, Joan and Tina. We have a fantastic team here, and I am glad to see you. Sounds like a very capable individual here, so I'm really looking forward to working with you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to working with you. Thank you.
And I would like to also just note online, we have Mr. Rod Hawken joining us virtually as well.
Good evening, everyone.
Okay, with that, 3.1 adoption of the minutes. We have two here. Council meeting for May 22nd, 2024. Any errors, omissions? Anybody see anything there we need to discuss? Councillor Wilhelm?
I'll motion we adopt the council meeting minutes for May 22nd, 2024,
As presented?
as presented.
Thank you. With that motion on the floor, call the question. All in favor?
In favor.
Thank you. That one's carried. Special council meeting for May 28th, 2024. Anything there? Councillor Williams?
I'll make a motion to adopt the special council meeting minutes, May 28th of May 2024 as presented.
Thank you, Councillor. With that, I'll call the question. All in favor?
In favor.
And that is carried unanimous. We got, skip over a couple here. New business 8.1, bridge file 78525 replacement project.
Thank
Good
you.
evening, Jeff.
Thank you, Chair. Council, the RFD in front of you is related to bridge file 78525. It's a bridge-sized culvert installed in 1975 on Township Road 584, east of Range Road 121. In February 2024, Casalman was retained for the engineering tasks for the replacement of the structure. Design is currently in the detailed design phase. The request for review application for Federal Department of Fisheries and Oceans has not been submitted. It will be submitted this month. Given that timing, construction in 2024 is not possible. To note, this project, we're receiving funding, grant funding of $375,000 from the STIP funding program. The administration is asking council to approve the construction cost of $500,000, which is included in the current 2024 capital budget, to be carried forward into the 2025 capital budget. Thank you.
Okay, one question I have in regards to the STIP funding we got is that we're approving the 500,000 to move over. Is that STIP funding going to come out of that, or is that 500,000 plus the STIP funding to do the project?
Mr. Chair, the 500 includes the 375,000 of the STIP.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Wilhelm?
Through the administration. So then we would then also be delaying the construction of the tie-in road between 120 and 121 because we need that bridge repaired first. Is that correct?
Through the chair to Councillor Wilhelm, the road construction was already listed as a 2026 project in the capital program, so there will be no change to that project.
Councillor Prestige?
Through the chair to Jeff, with the STIP financing, we're not gonna lose it by delaying it a year.
Through the chair to Councillor Prestige, no, the STIP funding grant agreement that we signed with the province has a stipulation that as long as we complete the structure replacement by end of 2025, we're still good with the funding.
Okay. Any other questions? Councillor Dean?
Through the chair to Mr. Zhang, I just wanted to come back to your comment that the bridge replacement was slated, or that road construction, sorry, between Range Road 120 and 121 is slated for 2026. Is that what you're saying?
Through the chair to Councillor Dean, yes, I've seen that project listed as a 2026 project.
Okay, my memory's not 100%, but I thought that project was on this year's capital project. Do you guys remember? No?
That's why I asked.
Yeah.
I know we've had discussion. I can't remember. Councillor Koopman, I see your hand up there.
Well, I'm sure that Mr. Zhang has done this, so I'm just prepared to make the motion that council approve the construction of $500,000 for the BF 78525 replacement project to be carried forward to the 2025 capital budget.
Thank you, Councillor. With that motion on the floor, any discussion to the motion? Not seeing any. I'll call the question. All in favor?
In favor.
Okay, that one's carried unanimously. Move down to the next bridge file.
Members of council, the next RFD is related to bridge file 73605. It's a bridge-sized culvert on Range Road 62 over Horse Creek. In February 2024, a consultant was retained for the engineering task for the replacement of the structure. Design is in the detailed design phase. The request for review application for Federal Department of Fisheries and Oceans will be submitted in June of 2024. And given that timing, construction in 2024 is not possible. On the current, this project is listed as a project on the current 2024 approved capital project. The total funding for this project listed on the program is $375,000. Administration is seeking to retain $50,000 out of the $375,000 in the current fiscal year to facilitate engineering, where the remainder $325,000 be carried forward into 2025 to facilitate construction in 2025. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Just checking, I got Rod online there. If you wouldn't mind your microphone, we're getting a lot of feedback from your end there. Just hearing some
Okay.
shuffling and stuff. Thank you. Any discussion, questions? Councilor Prestige?
Through the chair to, yeah. The application to fisheries and oceans, because we had this plan for this year, was the application never put in, or why is it being delayed?
Through the chair to Councilor Prestige. The application needs to be prepared, not at the beginning of the project, but towards the end of the project when your design is ready. Given the consultant was only hired in February, there hasn't been a lot of time allowed for the consultant to finish the design process. This project was started a bit too late in February, and all the complications led to the current state.
Thank you.
Just kind of, we're going to deal with the transition stuff here, so. Any other questions? Councilor Coogan?
Yeah, through the chair to Jeff. What is the criteria for STIP funding? Would that be something that can be applied to this, or you can apply for a project like this?
So the chair to Councilor Coogan, we do plan to apply for a grant program for this particular file. STIP has pretty stringent timing requirements, and there are two other programs which we believe we can tap into or apply to that has not so stringent timing requirements, and that is something administration is working towards.
Thank you.
Anything else in council? Not seeing any with somebody, Councilor Williams?
I'll make a motion that council approves $50,000 to be retained for 2024 capital budget to fund pre-tender engineering, and $325,000 to be carried forward into 2025 for the construction and post-tender engineering of BF 73605.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any, call the question, all in favor?
In favor.
That one's carried. 8.3,
Mr. Chair and members of council, the next RFD is related to the West Mountain Road and East Mountain Road's resurfacing project. The West Mountain Road resurfacing from town boundary to Township Road 592 has been approved in the 2024 capital budget as a debenture for $1.84 million. The East Mountain Road resurfacing project from Highway 43 to Range Road 120 has been approved in the 2024 capital budget as a debenture for $2.4 million. The construction of a bus pullover on West Mountain Road has been carried forward from 2023 capital budget for $30,000. We are currently hiring a consultant for these projects. The construction tenders can be prepared and be ready in January 2025 to allow tender advertising. Our Transportation Economic Corridors Construction Program has mentioned 2 repaving projects in the vicinity. And while the construction year of those 2 projects cannot be confirmed, it is possible that these 2 projects will move into construction in 2025. Tendering the resurfacing projects on West Mountain and East Mountain roads alongside or shortly after large highway paving tenders in the vicinity would allow the municipality to capitalize on better pricing while contractors are already coming to an area and carrying the surface condition of West Mountain Road and East Mountain Road within the project limit can safely last another season. Of course, the staff will do our due diligence in ensuring the driving surface is safe for people to drive on. It should be noted that carrying forward the debenture requires the passage of a borrowing bylaw, which is scheduled for June 19th, 2024 council meeting. It is the administration's recommendation that council approves 2 motions. Motion number 1 to retain $200,000 for West Mountain Road's resurfacing project for 2024 to allow for engineering and carry the remainder, $1.65 million, into 2025 capital budget. At the same time, carrying forward a $30,000 budget for the West Mountain Road bus pullover as a carry forward into the 2025 capital budget. And motion number 2 is to retain $200,000 for East Mountain Road resurfacing project to allow engineering to proceed into 2024 and carrying forward the remainder $2.2 million into 2025 as 2024 carry forward. Thank you very much.
Questions, council? Councilor Wilhelm?
Through the chair to administration, just with regards to East Mountain Road, one of the issues on East Mountain Road, is the sloughing that's occurring within the first, I think, 2 kilometers of the road. Will that road be able to support another year of traffic with the current rate of sloughing that's happening in it? It's degrading every month, right? So one of the reasons, or we were going to mitigate that with the repaving of the East Mountain Road. Do we know that it's going to be able to handle the amount of traffic for another calendar year before it gets repaved?
Through the chair to Councillor Wilhelm, I traveled East Mountain Road twice, and I have confidence that it can last another season. We do have another consultant, a geotechnical consultant, that's currently monitoring the geotechnical sliding area on East Mountain Road. The consultant has already finished his site visit. I'm still waiting for the report.
Okay.
But he didn't mention anything of concern to me.
My question is on the bus turnaround. It's come before council a few times trying to get that bus pull-out taken care of. Is it going to, put us in kind of a bad light if we put it off another year? I understand we're looking at trying to do it with the project and the funding, and when we were also talking about safety for school buses, it's just making sure that it's not going to cause any issues, foreseeably if we push that off another year.
To the chair, the $30,000 is really only enough if we bundle it with a bigger project. If you try to do that as a standalone project, it's not going to be $30,000. In terms of school children's safety, I have received complaints on people speeding on the road, and that's more of an enforcement issue.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Kuhlken.
Yeah, through the chair to Jeff. First of all, I'm happy that you sent the provincial construction program, because that was really interesting to see how many projects are actually ongoing. And my question is, when we're doing this, because those projects are happening in the area next year, is it the mobilization that gives us the savings, the mobilization costs of whoever is doing that could possibly give us the savings?
Through the chair to Councillor Kuchen, generally, yes. The plant is already in the neighborhood. The whole crew has already been mobilized. There may be some synergy in using the same mix type. You avoid having another design. Those are the general savings. And the contractors, project management staff, they already have to come to this area, so that's safe to travel. So,
Okay, good, thank you.
Councillor Dean?
Just prepared to move that council approves carrying forward debentured $1.65 million for West Mountain Road resurfacing project for the 2025 capital budget, carrying forward the $30,000 budget for West Mountain Road pullover as a carry forward for the 2025 capital budget.
Would you be acceptable to an amendment to allow that council retain $200,000 for engineering? Start the motion.
Did I miss something? Yes, I would be, yeah.
Thank you.
I was reading off the RFD.
So motion on the floor. Any discussion on that motion?
If I can clarify, through the chair, that the motion is what is on the RFD?
What's on the RFD? what's
Okay,
written on
just
it.
wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Well, just two different ones.
You just, there are different recommendations between what's written in the RFD, you've noticed, and what's on the side for the motion on the paper. So the longer motion, the one that's on the side that says the council retaining $200,000 is the one we're using. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any, call the question, all in favor?
In favor.
Councilor Dean?
So I'll do motion two, maybe correctly this time. Move that council retain $200,000 for engineering and approves carrying forward debentured $2.2 million for East Mountain Road resurfacing project for the 2025 capital budget.
Thank you, Councillor. Any discussion on motion number two? Not seeing any, call the question, all in favor?
In favor.
That one's carried. Thank you, John. 8.4 pilot program.
Members of council, this RFD is related to a pilot program proposal. Frequently traveled roads in the county, gravel roads, require more maintenance effort. And the following 6 segments are recommended by administration for council's consideration for the increasing routine surface maintenance due to the amount of use and service requests on a pilot basis. Number 1, Ranger 120, otherwise known as Thompson Road, from Township Road 590 intersection to Township Road 583 intersection, approximately 5 kilometers. Number 2, Ranger 121, otherwise known as Mountain View Road, from Township Road 590 intersection to Township Road 583 intersection, approximately 5 kilometers. Number 3 is the Township Road 585B, turning into Township Road 590, and then split into Ranger 114A and 114B for approximately 1.6 kilometers in total. Number 4, Ranger 121, otherwise known as Tower Road for this stretch, from Township Road 591A to Township Road 592B for a total for approximately 2.5 kilometers. Number 5, Township Road 590 from Highway 32 to the westerly end of the road for approximately 2.4 kilometers. And number 6, Ranger 130, otherwise known as Horn Road, from Township Road 594 to the northerly end of the road for approximately 2.4 kilometers. This pilot program is intended to increase the frequency of routine maintenance from the current standard of once per 2 weeks to once per week. This pilot program is intended to run for a duration of between 1 and 4 months. Based on the current resourcing level, it is best that a contract grader and the operator be hired for this undertaking. It is estimated that the monthly grading hours, including transportation, will be less than 80 hours, which translate to be approximately $16,000 a month. The work can start immediately if approval is obtained. The funding source is coming from my department's operating budget. We will monitor the budget closely to make this pilot program a go, and my staff will be evaluating the efficacy of this proposed pilot program to monitor the increasing level of service and as well as the road surface condition. In front of you, you should be able to find a map that's 11 by 17 size that lists out or color-coded in red for the segments I've mentioned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for this. Councilor Prestige?
Through the chair to Jeff. We have the road from Blue Ridge to Whitecourt, it's called the old Blue Ridge Highway. When we did a traffic survey years ago, it was the second highest road usage in the county. And it is in usually terrible condition. Why couldn't that be included in this program?
Through the chair to Councilor Prestige, we have no special funding for this. We have to absorb within our own budget. I know Old Blue Ridge Highway is a well-traveled road. We also get service requests on a regular basis as well. However, there's only so large a pie. It's the more roads that we add in, the other roads will have to take out. That's we're making an effort trying to find a balance between how many roads we want to run into a pilot program versus how much money we have.
I think part of when we were having a discussion on infrastructure earlier in the week was, or I guess sorry, last week there was the which areas to focus on that would impact the most residents per se to start for a pilot. So we're looking, I know when we were talking and he was talking about what we were looking at was based off service call areas, road conditions, and volume of houses and people. So I think that's kind of where we're starting.
So traffic volume has no count in it.
And this one, I think we were looking more at residents.
If I could, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
If there are other roads that fall into that high maintenance category, you could add some of those roads. What it will affect is this proposal was going from one grading every 2 weeks to a grading per week. So if you add in a reasonable number of other roads, instead of it being the double service level, it might be graded once in 8 or 9 days instead. So you have that flexibility. We don't feel we have the ability to increase the monthly budget. We've looked at the budgets and it's tight. We think we can accommodate that much. And the other challenge, of course, we're still early in the budget year. So these are ones that we're aware of. If there are a couple others that sort of fall into other category, I know there's been another suggestion as well. You can discuss that. It will just mean it, instead of 7 days, even if it's 8 or 9 days, if you add a couple extra roads, we're hoping to achieve a marked improvement to the service level and the condition of the roads that a lot of our public are traveling on. So we're looking for your guidance. These we were very well aware of. There could be some others, and we can work with you to find that optimum trade-off. So although this is the original list, it's not cast in stone, and it is appropriate to discuss it. Just know that the 7 days will be something a little bit longer, but in any event, it's an improvement over what we've got today.
To that point, I do like the pilot program we have, and I don't want to take away from possibly starting this as soon as we can, but if we could, at the next council meeting, maybe bring back the Blue Ridge Highway, and if council has maybe another couple roads that, in their mind that would fit in, or within this, and then maybe next week, Jeff, you can show us what those, or sorry, not next week, next council meeting anyway, show us what those budget implementations might look like. Would that work for council? Councilor Cool, can I see you had your hand up?
Yeah, through the chair to administration. First of all, I think doing a pilot like this is excellent. It's something that, we've kind of been looking for and didn't really know how to name it, so that's excellent. And I think that the service tracker that we've been using is been an indicator of what, people are asking for. So if we start getting less requests on the service tracker for these areas, I'm pretty sure that'll be an indicator of whether that project is working or not. And I guess the other thing is, in the case of those roads that are getting some service tracker requests, then we would shift our focus to those. And so I think this is a great start, and let's figure it out.
Councilor Will?
Through the chair to council and administration, what about the thought of, with regards to the initial portion of this pilot project, we stick with the current roads that they have? I'm not saying we have to, but we stick with the current roads, and we reevaluate in 6 weeks or 2 months or whatever time frame you guys feel is comfortable. And if we're seeing a significant impact on certain roads and other roads, the pilot project isn't doing any better, we can then shift maybe our attention to other roads. I mean, the point of a pilot project is to try something new, right?
Yeah.
We're not set in stone on specific roads. We
Councilor
just
Williams?
start with specific roads now and shift as we need to in the future.
Yeah, I agree with that. We're not lowering service anywhere else. We're just doing the pilot project to see if this is better. So, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I wouldn't commit to 4 or 5 months on certain roads, but I like the idea of up to 6 weeks, because that gives us a full month of the service tracker that way.
Jeff, any comments on that?
Through the chair to council, it's a pilot program. We're trying something new. It's perfectly valid to collect data, reevaluate, and see where we go. And to also look at our budget situation when we are ready to take a look at the initial results. So I have no problem let the program proceed for 6 weeks and then come back with some data and then we go from there.
Councilor Wilhelm?
So I'll make a motion that council approves the pilot program for increased level of service on the selected roads with a review of the pilot program coming at the August council meeting. Gives us about 2 months.
Thank you. Just Councilor Burrows, I just seen your camera came on there. Do you have any comments you wanted to put in there?
I just switched to my computer here so that I can
Okay,
be seen. I
just
was
wanted to make
on
sure
my
I didn't
phone.
miss you.
Nope, I appreciate it. No, I think we're headed in the right direction with a pilot program like this. It's I know we've had to go through a period of time where we were looking at service levels and pulling back, and now we're looking at adding in again a little bit. So we need to do it in a careful and methodical manner, and I think this is the best way to do it. Hopefully I'm sure that we'll pick up some roads along the way and look at their budgetary impacts as well, but nothing but support so far. Thank you.
Okay, so motion on the floor to approve the pilot program with reevaluation at our August meeting. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any, I'll call the question. All in favor? That is carried. 10.1, councillor reports and questions. These moving pretty quick. Councillor Williams? Picking and use your cough in there.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, no, my schedule's pretty light this last little bit. I attended the special council meeting that a few of us do to appoint interim CAOs, so that was good. Then I had an operator in Pride Valley I've had a conversation with about the stop signs that we put forward to get switched back to the original state. He's gonna contact the county and would like to come to a council meeting and explain why he thinks that it should stay how the change was. It's better for his operation. So I had a conversation with him. I haven't talked to administration yet about that, but just heads up for everybody.
Thank you. Any questions for Councillor Williams? No? Councillor Prestige?
I attended the special council meeting also, and then I was invited to I don't know what you quite call it, it was through Stantec Engineering. It was a event at their office. It was a kind of a meet and greet. Peter and I met this lady when we went to the hydrogen conference, and I got invited to it. Incredible people that came to it, especially for our regional economic development. I met the lead person doing the carbon capture project for Heidelberg Group in Edmonton, the Inland Cement. And he's willing to work with our RETA board on anything we want to do. Also met, you don't get this every day, but I met a nuclear physicist that works with SMRs. And she is willing to come up and do a presentation on SMRs to our RETA group. So I just got another invite to go to one in October, which I'm going to go to. It's incredible the contacts you get. They have government officials, industry people, students, professors from U of A there, Olds College. It's just great people to network with. And that's about it.
Any questions for Councillor Prestige? No? Councillor Burrows?
Got to get to my proper screen. Excuse me. As far as council duties are concerned, we just had the special meeting. I can give you a bit of an update. I also got the privilege of going on to do a podcast where I got to share kind of the Woodlands County story on how we've been affected by unpaid oil and gas taxes, and how it would be nice if the province would make the payment of oil and gas taxes to municipalities an actual condition of operation. But at the moment, you can still be multiple years behind and keep your license. So the good part was that it was, at least we get to tell the story. And I think the story too about this that's not getting out right now is there's a surface rights lease component to this. So we have landowners that are in Woodlands County that have surface rights leases with the companies, and many of them haven't been paid in quite some time, so they end up doing a surface rights board claim, and that money actually ends up coming out of the taxpayer's pocket. So they do get paid eventually, but that's paid by you and me, not the oil companies. And I don't think anyone likes the status of that particular operation. Got to share my thoughts on Bill 18, and hopefully it's I got to illustrate the frustration that our council was feeling with it as well. Just in the fact that it's a bit of a pull away from the level of government that's closest to the people, and that's why we're here. So it's the fact that they can overturn bylaws and do things like that, and we made our case for it, and they passed it anyways. So that's the end of that. The RMA, at the RMA level, we are doing, there is a wildfire committee that has been struck as a result of the wildfires last year, in communication with the province, and so we've got quite a few people sitting at that table. and it's we'll have some information coming out of it. We just got our first meeting out of the way, but it certainly looks like an interesting opportunity, and that's actually another area where I need to kind of give praise to the local government, is that's where those ideas, local government sitting down with the province and trying to figure out a path forward on how to make things better at the resident level. So that's it for me, unless there's any questions.
Any questions for Councillor Rose? Councillor Kuchen?
Yeah, through the chair to John. You were involved in that podcast, and you know, that's something that is an extension of what we do in Woodlands, and you know, could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, that first portion of it that I was talking about, that was the story I got to tell in the podcast. It was about an hour long with a fella named Sean Newman.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to know, you know, how the residents can get that information, like get to see that podcast. Is there a way that we can do that?
I'm going to link it. I'll link it to my Facebook page. I'm not really good with Facebook, so I need to link it to the Facebook page. But yeah, you can do that and pick it up off the John Burrows official Facebook page.
Yeah, I just want to, you know, let our residents know that this is part of the advocacy that we do as elected officials, to get some of this information into the public domain. And you know, I know the work that you've done and what you want to do with that. So I just like to see that expanded into especially our residents here in Woodlands County.
Okay.
Any other questions for Councillor Burrows? Councillor Kuchen?
Yeah, the only thing I've done since the last, I was gone for a week, so I didn't attend my Barrett District Social Housing meeting. But I did on the 4th of June attend, I was invited to the advisory circle for the Connect for Food Symposium. And the background of that is a little bit is that 2 years ago when I was on the Economic Development Committee, our Economic Development Officer told us that most of what we do as elected people are build relationships and figure out exactly all of the different pieces of the puzzle that we need to understand how economic development happens in our municipalities. And it's been an interesting journey, but what I'm discovering is that the concept of a task force is really interesting, but you have to be able to build the relationships to put the people into those task force that will actually help us do what we want to do in our municipalities. So that's been kind of the journey, and it's remarkable how what Bruce is doing with the energy transition piece and developing those relationships, and what I'm doing with agriculture, how they are important components of what the fundamental reason we are here as elected officials are in economic development. And so we use a lot of the templates that our economic development officer gives us when we go into these relationship building things, and it has yielded some tremendous results. And so on this symposium, what actually ended up happening is that it raised a whole pile of questions of what a task force needs to look like and who those people on a task force are. And generally, it's people in the business sector, people in the education sector that are going to be the ones that really start to drive these new ideas and these new things. And so it's been an eye-opener for me. It's been, it's really challenged some of the paradigms that I've had. And I think that the template that these organizations are going to develop for us are going to be templates that municipalities can use to forward their economic agendas. So that was my report for this.
Any questions for Councillor Kuchen? Not seeing any. Councillor Wilhelm?
I didn't have anything to report, but I just wanted to follow up on an earlier portion of the meeting here. just because I've told people in that region of 120, 121, that cut across road was being built this year. And just for clarification for administration, when we approved the Woodlands County 5-year capital plan, in 2024, $300,000 was put forward for TWP 584 for the construction of that road. So if that's not happening this year, then that is $300,000 has been allocated towards that an RFP will need to come to move that forward. So just for clarification. Other than that, I don't have anything to report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Councillor Wilhelm? Councillor Dean?
Just a couple things. May 23rd, I attended our ECDEV meeting, and it was a productive meeting. We struck a committee to work with our communications team to make sure that we were aligned. And on the 29th, I attended a meeting with the Reeve and Councillor Burrows and Wilhelm, as well as both Rod and Paul and Jeff, to kind of come to, I guess you'd say, a bit of a meeting of the minds on how to get started with the consultant work for the cold mix rehab program. So it was just an information meeting, but what was stressed, I think, to administration is that council is looking for a plan that they can then communicate to residents. And that's everything from me.
Thank you. Any questions for Councillor Dean? Don't see any. I guess out of that, also, I think that's where part of this pilot project came from, out of the discussions that we were having, and I guess just kind of a general look that administration to take a look at service levels across how we do a lot of our maintenance in the municipality. So I know we left a lot on Jeff's plate there, and we'll see what we can bring back to us. And thank you again for that meeting. We had our special meeting today. Got a little bit busier for me. It was started off at the Ensemble Hall. It was a kickoff for our Seniors Week in Woodlands County. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to stay through the whole event, but I gave the opening speech. Got to meet the band that we had playing there, and it looked like it was very well attended. So, sounded like the general consensus was it worked out really well, and we got round 2, I believe, tomorrow. So. Again, really great event, and thank you again, Heather, for inviting me to that one. And made it into town for the ribbon cutting at the open house for ProFox Rentals here in Whitecourt. A bunch of the staff they had working for through conversations with them are from the county, and a lot of them shared some of the concerns and wondering what our plan was on some of our cold mix roads. So I told them that we are still actively looking at what we can do to make sure that we don't get into the same cycle we had before. We just kept patching roads and realistically not fixing the problem. So they definitely understand, especially guys from a construction background, that you got to fix what's underneath there before you go any further. And just, I don't know, they seem happy knowing that we are looking and we are taking steps towards that. So that is where I've been at, kind of tied up a lot with ball with the kids out in Selma in our league this year, so my evenings haven't been able to make a few of the other events. But any questions for myself? Councillor Wilhelm?
A motion that council accepts council reports and questions as information.
Thank you very much. Motion on the floor. I'll call the question on that. All in favor? And that one's carried. Brings us down to CAO report. Mr. Benedetto, we're going to put you on the spot.
Well, Mr. Reeve and members of council, I'm pleased to present the first CAO report from your joint CAOs. So this is a collaboration between Rod and myself, and Rod's online, so he may want to offer some additional comments. There will be another section in the in-camera portion dealing with some other issues. Our colleagues here have been very, very kind in terms of taking us around to the different facilities in Whitecourt, getting out to the shop, getting out to the airport, and we're out to the fort. And I can tell you that you have many dedicated individuals serving this community and take pride in that. But I also have to tell you that with the cuts and the service demands, they're also feeling under the pressure of multiple conflicting demands in some instances. We're looking at, through a meeting of the extended leadership group, It appears to be a significant period of time since council has received an update on your very important strategic plan. And we're compiling updates that we can share with you. There's also a number of council information requests that some of those don't appear to have been reported back to you in recent times. So we're also trying to update those requests. So we're really working to understand everything that's on the plate and everything that is impacting capacity. And we've also, as you know, and thank you for those that are responding, I know some of the others are still working on it, we sent a questionnaire out about your priorities as well. So we're trying to find out everything that's on the plate, and we will have to have discussions given the status of these various initiatives of really coming up with what are the top priorities. Because if you're trying to advance 50 initiatives, you're not going to make a substantive difference on any of them. And typically, communities have some key number of priorities that need to be advanced. So that will lead to some important discussions once we get that information assembled. And we do look forward to updating council, especially on the inquiries that you've had in the strategic planning initiatives, because that's just very important information. Advancing the asset management program continues to be a high priority, and it was planned to provide an update to council at your June 12th governance and priorities meeting. Now, I've been alerted that there's some very busy schedules next week for members of council. So I'm wondering, I would just want to make sure if we're going to have quorum for next Wednesday for governance and priorities, or whether we have to retime some of those items, because I know it looks like a number of you will be away. So maybe you could give me some feedback on that so we can retime items if necessary, and if we don't have a quorum, we should probably be passing a motion to cancel that meeting.
Councillor Dean?
Yeah, I'm available by Teams. I'm not here physically, but I was planning on attending by Teams.
Councillor Willem?
If you need quorum, I can come by Teams.
Councillor Coogan, next Wednesday? I think you guys are
That's gonna be tough. We're in
Conference.
conference.
Councillor
I
Burrows?
couldn't guarantee that.
I think you're away.
Yeah, I'm away on a strategic retreat with RMA. We don't typically have a lot of time during those. That's an evening one.
That's an evening one.
I can try and get in virtually, but I don't know what the schedule is like on the.
Just to administration to that point, what do we have on the agenda for, is it one or two items on that GMP, or is it going to be a larger GMP?
It's a lighter GMP at this point based on the reports that have been completed, and one of them was certainly on the status of the asset management, which council had requested. But I mean, if that was a week later, if that's okay with council, that's works for us. And I'm trying to remember, Jones, do you remember any more of the items?
Do we have public?
The Blue Ridge Briar Patch land
Right.
was to be discussed. There was one other item that was on the list as well.
Was there, sorry, John, was there one for that subdivision outside of Whitecourt? I know they were making phone calls and asking about coming in regards to pricing and costing and tax relief.
Nope, that wasn't.
Okay, if it's easier for council, given the agenda and stuff that we have, some of these don't seem like they're gonna be, or the items that we have aren't gonna be a large discussion. Would it be agreeable for the information items just to bring into our council meeting the week after? And then we can assure we have quorum and we can get those updates.
Yeah, it's like the Blue Ridge one, I'd like to attend that one. But I'll be here.
Yeah, works for me.
Councilor Burrows, would that be agreeable to you to make a motion to council GMP and just move those items to our council meeting the next week?
I think that's actually a really good idea. The council meeting next week?
The week after GMP.
Okay, so the next council meeting.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, no problem. That would be a great idea.
Okay, Councilor Wilhelm?
So would you like a motion then to cancel the meeting?
Yes, if that works best for council.
Okay. I'll make a motion to cancel the June 12th Governance and Priorities meeting.
Thank you. Motion on the floor, call the question, all in favor? Okay, thank you. Councillor Coofin?
Do we need a motion then to have that information forwarded to the council meeting, or?
Mr. Benedetto, do we need to make a motion to move those information items, or are you guys gonna be able to move those information items? I think we just need to cancel the meeting.
Yeah, the fact you've canceled the meeting, we'll move them to the earliest opportunity.
Okay. No, thank you for the clarification. Please, Mr. Benedetto, anything else?
We have initiated the process of reaching out to some of the intermunicipal, some of the other municipalities, and we reached out initially to town of Whitecourt because, there were agreements with a number of your good neighbors. The town of Whitecourt has a large number of agreements, so we're reaching out to have some discussions and talk about intermunicipal relations with them. And we've had a focus, and there's been some of the comments made tonight in the item coming on for the pilot project, some of the high priority roads, and you're certainly aware of the requests and some of the concerns that have been expressed through the service tracker. So we do appreciate your consideration of this pilot project tonight, so we can implement that and see what difference that would make. The other area that we are looking at is reviewing the process and timing to deliver major capital projects. And tonight is the perfect example where you've got large capital projects that are being carried forward because they have not been designed the year before. And we are looking very much, and we'll have further discussions with you, but we very much believe that that process needs to change so that projects are engineered the year before. And then you're in a position then, if there are other highway projects around or timing things, or sometimes there are shifts in the economy, then you're ready to take that tendering of the projects out to the market at the best time. Generally, tendering projects early in the year in January works best. You've got contractors that are looking for base work to keep their key people, to keep their equipment going. It's a little bit different in a hot economy, but certainly in a slower economy. And the pricing goes up. The later you get in the year, and if they sense at all that you're rushed and desperate for a project, you know what? They're business people and they can take advantage of that pricing. And when the time it takes to design some of these major projects, and particularly if you need other approvals or things from Fisheries and Oceans and other provincial involvement, that just simply takes more time. So we think that process needs to be overhauled so that the engineering is occurring at least a year before you plan to go to construction. So we're not having to come to you and have the vast majority of your capital project carried forward and delayed because it wasn't designed and we couldn't get out to the market when we wanted to. So we wanted to share that with you. We'll come back to you, but we've certainly, that's one of the real observations that Rod and I have in week one. And then certainly talking to Jeff, he's also very supportive of looking at reworking that timing to ensure that capital projects are achieved in the year that they are planned by council, and the fact, frankly, the years that you've authorized the money. So we'll get back to you, but that is certainly a major, major observation that we wanted to share with you. And tonight, agenda items confirm that that is a concern.
Hey, Councillor Coogan.
Yeah, through the chair to Paul. Will this then potentially, if we use our asset management overall view that we have, this will potentially change the way we do budgeting, because then what we will be doing is budgeting the engineering and the construct for any of those things that we need to do a year ahead of time so that we're project ready. Is that kind of?
Well, there's two things. As you say, that there be information generated out of the asset condition assessments, asset management, that will indicate what those priority projects are. But the other piece that has to change here, if you don't revise your process here, you're trying to engineer and deliver the project in the same year, and that is problematic. So the other change that would go complementary to that would be then engineering at least a year ahead, and then you're ready to pull the trigger on the projects. And I can tell you some of these projects involving fisheries and oceans, you probably need to be reviewing them 2 years, or designing them 2 years ahead, because there's they're not real swift. I guess that's all I'll say. I've had some wonderful experiences with them, so I'll just leave it at that. So we'll get back to you, but we do want to highlight to you that we have a number of early observations, and that's clearly one of them that we wanted to highlight for you. And the other items I have, you can accept this, Mr. Reeve, if you like. If there are questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I do have some more in camera, but this is the public portion or the highlights. And I'd ask Rod if you had anything further to add, because again, this is Rod and I putting our heads together of being in the organization a whole week.
No, I think Paul has identified all the things we talked about. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you. I've seen Councillor Prestige and Councillor Williams. No, okay.
Through the chair, by doing this engineering the year before, there are grants that you can get for shovel-ready projects.
Yes.
And with us trying to do the engineering and the work in the same year, it never qualifies. We've lost some projects because they weren't shovel-ready.
Exactly.
So if we can do this, it's gonna help us a lot.
And I just want to absolutely concur with that. Usually the federal government, it's usually in times of economic slowdown where they're looking for shovel-ready projects to stimulate the economy. If you do not have them designed, you just can't even pursue the funding. And that's an unfortunate miss anytime an opportunity is passed up that can bring other levels of funding from other orders of government into your community to help address high-priority infrastructure and asset projects. So I'm glad you mentioned that. That's exactly another advantage.
Like, we should always have projects sitting on a shelf that are shovel-ready,
Yes.
just in case.
Yes, couldn't agree more. And that's what this is about.
Any other questions for CAO? Not seeing any, can I get a motion to accept? Councillor Cookton.
I'll make a motion to accept the CEO's report as presented.
Okay, with that motion on the floor, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that's carried. And that brings us down to our closed meeting session. If I can
I
get,
think, Mr. Chair, there's also supper that I think I saw it go by the door. So whatever's appropriate somewhere around here to
Yeah, we'll,
have some supper.
we'll take a motion to go into closed session. This way we'll stop the stream because we won't need to come back out for the last couple motions there. We'll take a 10-15 minute break, and that way you guys can stretch. We can get the food. We can have our meal in here. We had it before while we have our last couple bits there. Councillor Coogan?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we move into closed session under FOIP 23, FOIP 17.
Thank you very much. Motion on the floor to go into closed session under FOIPs 23 and 17. Call the question. All in favor? That is carried. We're going to go into closed session at 6:03. And I guess